Hello and welcome back to another Pilates session. So in this Pilates session we're going to be focusing more on mobility and flexibility. So this one's quite a nice one to do when you're kind of building up into a Pilates session, or if you've had a tough workout and you want to kind of go through your stretches. It's quite a nice one to end a session. If you do it, let me know at the end what you thought of it and give us a like and subscribe if you can. Cheers. So to begin, we're going to come into a 4-point kneeling position, placing our hands underneath our shoulders, knees underneath our hips, and just getting ready to do some cat-cows. So a cat-cow is basically extending that lower back, pulling the sternum to the ground, and then pushing away from the floor and flexing the spine. So inhale as you arch and extend, exhale as you flex. And after this, we're just going to widen our knees, bring your feet together and sit back onto our heels for shell stretch. Walking our fingertips forwards, holding this for a brief moment before we add a lateral flexion to it. Good. So then we're just going to walk our fingers over to the right hand side of the mat. You should feel a stretch just on the left side underneath the arm. We can increase this a little bit further by shifting our pelvis over to that left side as well, just to increase that lateral flexion of the spine. So staying low, keep the head down on the ground. Stay in a position that feels comfortable. And then walking our hands over to the other side. Same again, should feel this stretch on the right side underneath the arm. We can shift that pelvis over to the other side on the right to increase that stretch. That's it, and just moving the hands back into the centre of the mat. Hold this position here. So the next exercise we're going to do is we're going to combine the shell stretch with a cobra, and we're going to move between these two exercises. So to set up, we're going to bring our knees a little bit closer together, about hip width apart. Same again with the feet. We're going to hold a flex position with the spine whilst we slowly extend the hips, bringing the hips down towards the floor, pulling the sternum forward and looking ahead. And then we're going to reverse this, tucking the chin in, letting the shoulders round, peeling one vertebrae at a time, coming back to that shell stretch. As you come back into the cobra, keep that belly button in, keep the core engaged as you emphasize getting that chest proud, pulling the sternum forward. Just emphasizing the movement coming from the upper back, that thoracic spine, rather than all the movement coming from the lower back. If you do start getting any discomfort in that lower back whilst you're doing the cobra, just reduce that range of motion, so reduce the range of extension that you apply. So as we do this movement, try and visualize the spine moving like a wave from bottom of the back to the top of the spine, moving one vertebrae at a time. That's it, going for the last one now then. So again, pushing the hips in, keeping the core engaged, chest up proud. So we're going to come back into our 4-point kneeling position, hands underneath our shoulders, knees underneath our hips. Just find that neutral spine. With this next one, we're going to focus on that right arm. We're going to exhale as we reach up towards the sky, getting that rotation in the spine, chest up proud, and then feed the arm underneath the body and reaching the fingertips over to the other side, resting head and shoulders on the floor. So exhale as you reach up towards the sky, inhale as you hold it, then exhale as you feed the arm back down, inhaling as you rest at the bottom. Good. As you reach back up towards the sky, really emphasize squeezing the shoulder blades together, getting the chest proud. Good. And then we're placing the hand back down into 4-point kneeling, changing sides, so same again, inhale to prepare, and exhale as you reach up towards the sky. Again, allow your head and shoulders to rest on the mat if you wish. Go for the last one. Reach up high as you can with that rotation. And then placing the hand back down into 4-point kneeling position. Then we want to be going into downward dog, so curl the toes underneath, raising the hips up towards the sky, trying to extend the legs and dropping the heels down. And I'm just going to pedal our feet here, oscillating the stretch from one side to the other, whilst pushing away from the floor with our upper body. Then we're going to come into our high plank. I'm going to step the left leg to meet the outside of the left arm. Then we're going to drop the right knee down, extending that right hip. Then the hand that's closest to the foot reaches up towards the sky. Inhale at the top. Exhale as you then come back down, and we're going to bend at the elbow. Imagine reaching that elbow down towards the floor. Inhale as you hold, and exhale as you move. So reach the elbow down. You should feel this stretch just underneath the hip on that left side. So last time, reaching the elbow down towards the floor. And then placing the hand down. We're going to come into a pigeon now, so we're going to place the shin underneath us, placing the knee underneath the left shoulder and foot just underneath our right hip. Try and imagine sinking in towards the floor. Get yourself comfortable. You can fold your hands over, resting your head on those hands, or if you want, you can release them and reach the arms forwards, resting your head on the floor. You should feel this stretch in the glute on that left side. If the stretch is too much and it's quite uncomfortable, what you can do is you can come onto your elbows or onto your hands just to alleviate that stretch. So we're going to start walking our hands back, coming onto our elbows and onto our hands. Getting into that high plank just to take that leg back out. And then lying on our front, we're going to go into a quad stretch, so we're going to grab hold of the left foot. And we're going to place our hand just underneath our forehead to give it some room. So with this one, I want you to think about pushing the pubic bone in towards the floor, squeezing your glutes, and you should find this stretch increases. If you do struggle to grab hold of your foot, what you can do is you can use a towel or a strap to wrap around that foot to kind of give an extension of your arm. And just releasing the left leg. We're going to come up into a kneeling position, curling the toes under, and then lifting our hips back up into a downward dog. And as we did earlier, just pushing away from the floor with our upper body, keeping our hips high as we bring our chest down towards the floor, and then just pedaling the legs out, heel down on one side and then just lifting off the other. And we're going to come back into that high plank. This time we're going to lift the right leg up to meet the right hand, keeping the leg on the outside of the body, dropping the left knee on the floor, extending that left hip, and then reaching up towards the sky. Same again. Exhale as you move, inhale as you hold, reach the elbow down towards the floor. So you keep that chest proud as you reach up towards the sky. And then last time, just reaching up towards the sky. Bringing the elbow down. And then we're going to place the hand back down. Then with that right leg, we're going to place it underneath, keeping your knee underneath the right shoulder and having your right foot roughly underneath the left hip. Walk your leg back to try and sink further in towards the floor. Again, you can fold your hands over, resting your head on your hands. If the stretch does feel a bit too intense, what you can do is come back onto your elbows or onto your hands. But if you prefer it, what you can do instead is you can reach your hands forwards, rest your head on the floor to increase the stretch. Good, and then same again, walking the hands back, coming back into that high plank, and then lying on your front. Then going back into a quad stretch. As we did earlier, placing one hand underneath the forehead to give you head space, and grabbing hold of the right foot. Good, same again, you're going to think about pushing the pubic bone in towards the floor by squeezing the glutes to increase that stretch on the thigh. And just gradually release it there. This next one is a chest stretch. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend the right arm out to the side. We're then just going to have a slight bend in the elbow, about 45 degrees. We want to then turn and look in the opposite direction. Gradually we'll bring that left knee up, keeping the right shoulder on the floor, and then just gradually increase the rotation, as if turning over onto our side. The more weight you kind of put through that right shoulder, the more you should feel that stretch. And you can do this by pushing into that left arm to shift that weight over. And then we're going to gradually come back onto our front. And we're changing size, so same again, extending that left arm this time, bending the elbow to about 45 degrees again, right knee comes up, just gradually get that rotation, turning over onto your side, increasing that stretch on that left pectoral, the chest. Good, again, just really emphasize putting the weight through that left shoulder, keeping the shoulder away from your ears, and don't let it lift off the floor. Then just gradually making our way back onto our front. We're then going to push ourselves up into a 4-point kneeling position. So we want to make sure our knees are underneath our hips, hands underneath our shoulders, and then we're going to come into what we call an atomic frog. So we're going to widen our feet and knees equally, keeping within a range that still feels comfortable. Then we want to come onto our elbows, and all we're going to do here is we're going to rock forward and backwards on our knees, pushing our hips back. This one you should feel a stretch on the inside of your hips, and it's a good one to loosen off the hips and increase range of motion. So we're just going to add a bit more to this now. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull the hip back and hold it there where you can feel that stretch. And with that right hand, all you're going to do is you're going to release that off the floor and feed the arm just underneath. As we did earlier, just resting the head and shoulders on the floor, but you should have the addition of holding that stretch on the hip. And then we're just going to slowly come back onto our elbows and just change in size, so set your hip back if you need to again, and just feed that left arm through, reaching the fingertips, resting your head and shoulders on the floor. Throughout this session there shouldn't be any stretch or exercise that feels painful. If there is a little bit of discomfort, that's quite natural, but if you find you're in pain, just ease off. So then we're just coming back onto our elbow, bringing the knees in, coming into a 4-point kneeling position. And from there, keeping our hips over our knees, we're going to reach our hands forwards coming into a puppy pose like they call in yoga. So we're really focusing on pulling that sternum down towards the floor to try and increase that extension in the upper back, which is the thoracic spine. Then we want to gradually walk our hands back into that 4-point kneeling position. Just doing a few cat-cows if it feels comfortable. Sometimes you get a little bit stiff after doing that one. So this next one's a hip flexor stretch. So we're going to step the right foot forward. We want to place our hands on the pelvis. We're going to tuck the tailbone under. So we want to make sure that lower back stays nice and flat and it doesn't come into an arch. And then all we're going to do from there is we're going to drive the hip forwards. We should feel this stretch along the front of the left hip. If you can't feel this stretch, just be mindful of where the pelvis is. So make sure you've got a posterior tilt, tucking the tailbone in. If it's tilting forwards, what you tend to find is that lower back starts to round and hyperextend. If we want to increase the stretch, do what I've just done here and place one hand along the knee and just get a little bit of rotation from the spine. And just easing out of that, bring that knee down, changing sides. And then same again, placing your hands on your hips, tucking the tailbone under, tilting the pelvis back. And then all you're going to do is then drive your hips forwards until you feel that stretch there at the front of your hip. And then we're just going to reach that right hand over to the left knee. Just use that to try and pivot and rotate the spine over to the left. And just gently easing out of that. And then when you're ready, just come into a sitting position. So we want to place our hands behind us, just to support us, giving the chest up proud, legs are bent about 90 degrees. I'm just going to slide our feet out towards the edges of the mat. I'm just going to roll both knees over to one side, back into centre and over to the other side. Inhale as you come into centre, exhale as you drop over to the other side. Making sure you're not sinking in the shoulders. You still want to be engaged, keeping your chest up proud, trying to avoid slouching. That's it. And on this last one, just going to hold it there a little bit longer this time. Just concentrate on your breathing. That's it. And then inhale, and as you exhale, come back into centre, and finally over to the other side where we'll just hold it there a little bit longer. And then just gradually easing out of that. And then we want to come to a position where we can lie down on the floor. Legs bent about 90 degrees, feet together, knees together, arms out to the sides, and pressing the lower back into the mat. And then inhaling to prepare, exhaling as you drop your knees down towards the floor. Inhale as you hold, and then exhale as you gradually bring it back into centre and straight over to the other side. And we can increase the stretch further by coming over to one side, extending the bottom leg, then just grabbing hold of that knee and using it to leave the hip across further, increasing the rotation and stretch on the spine. And then just gradually bringing that bottom leg back in to meet the top leg. And then what we're going to do is do a few more with the feet and knees together, going from side to side. And then just bring your knees over to the opposite side that you just stretched, extending that bottom leg, again grabbing hold of the knee, using that to leave the pelvis across, getting a bit more rotation, increasing that stretch. Hold that position there and just concentrate on your breathing. And again, just bring the bottom leg to meet the top, release the hand, coming back into that base position. And then from here, we're going to grab either a strap or a towel if you've got one for this next stretch. So this is a hamstring stretch, and all we're going to do with the strap is we're going to place it underneath the sole of the foot. So we're then going to extend the leg up to the sky and then drop that left leg down to the ground. And then once we're ready, just going to apply stretch and adjust the straps if necessary. Ensure the leg stays straight throughout the exercise and engage the quadricep muscle if you want to increase that stretch. Then to release, all we're going to do is bend that left leg, bend the top leg, coming back into that base position, grab and hold the strap and place underneath the left leg, and same again, extending that up to the top, extending the bottom leg, and readjusting the strap if need be. With the strap, you want to ideally be in a position where you can keep your arms straight so you don't have to bend your arms to increase that stretch. And then finally bending that bottom leg back into that base position, move the strap. For this last one then, we're going to go into a relaxing resting position where we can get a bit of a stretch on the hips as well. So if you bend your knees as far as possible and just walk your feet towards the outer edge of the mat. So keeping the knees together, you should start to feel a little bit of a stretch on the inside of your hip. Hold that position there or find a position that feels comfortable. Once you're comfortable, all I want you to do is close your eyes and just concentrate on your breathing. Breathing in for your nose and out for your mouth. Continue to remain in this position for as long as you feel comfortable. This is the end of the session, so thank you for taking part. Cheers. Bye.